It says cocaine.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying snort cocaine. I live in California, obviously. I have non-Muslim friends. I remember one time we were hanging out, bowling, nothing wrong. Welcome back. Today, we're going to be reacting to Miss Marvel after obviously coming out, being the first Muslim superhero. My initial reactions were very not so nice.
Oh yeah?
I don't know how to put it. I was very emotional originally.
Why is that?
I was at tutoring, and then my friend sent me what do you call it? The video saying, "Oh my, there's a first Muslim superhero," and I read Marvel, and immediately I just lost it. I got angry. I was like, "These guys are gonna, you know how Hollywood is, Marvel is.
Right.
You're gonna have like a hijabi take her hijab off or something like Netflix did, or they're gonna be like, oh, it's okay if boys and girls, or it'll be like something really feminist that's like anti-Islamic to push their agenda." But then I was like, you know what? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm overreacting. That's just assuming.
All right.
And when you assume, you become the first three letters. Is what I've been told growing up.
Yeah.
So I went on. I quickly looked. I was like, oh, it's a comic book. I scroll through. I see the comic, and then obviously we'll go over later today. You see a few things here and there where they're not doing it for the sake of asking a question or like making people learn knowledge. They're doing it to like push an agenda, push a reason, and it's like quite obvious, especially in one part of the trailer. At least for me.
All right.
I don't know about you.
I was neutral when I saw it, and the reason is that I'm very familiar with Marvel and Marvel movies specifically, and how Marvel engages its audience. Right? I'll talk a little bit more once we get to the certain points, and so I'm neutral as of now. I don't know. Of course, they do have an agenda. There is an agenda, but Marvel's agenda is different than Disney's agenda, is different than Netflix's agenda, right? And although there might be some overlap in that, at least Marvel and Disney are left in ideology, they're not at the same wavelength. Plus, they're not talking to the same audience, not engaging the same audience. Disney's engaging a much younger audience. Marvel's really engaging a the late teenage years and the 20s. This is what I think there's their primary age that they target. But we can go into details as we go. Right now, I'm neutral. I don't know where they're going to take it. This is the first time they present a Muslim hero, I guess. But, exactly where they're going to go, we'll see. I think people are really skeptical and already having negative feelings because of what happened in the Eternals, where they brought the Arab who was homosexual and married to that one of the Eternals. Spoilers, I guess it's too late, right? It's not a spoiler, I guess. but we have to be really precise here. They presented an Arab. This person is Arabic. He's an Arab. They didn't present him as he's a Muslim. I think the assumption is that he's Arab, that he's most likely Muslim. But the accent the dialect he was speaking with was Lebanese, if I'm not mistaken. And Lebanese is not a predominantly Muslim society. It's split pretty evenly between Muslims and Christians. But I guess you can see where people feel that this is probably where they're going to take it, and maybe that is where they'll take it. But I think Marvel is a little bit more sophisticated than Disney because they're talking to a more mentally developed audience. If that makes sense, but. Yeah, we can talk a little bit more.
I guess we'll start the video.
Let's do it.
Okay, so first off, I just want to say, I get it.
You get what?
High school.
Kamala.
Another adventure shirt. Cute.
She thinks I'm some kind of weirdo.
You were a weirdo.
Boys.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
You're kind of on my shirt.
Sorry.
But you're staring out the window in your little fantasy land. Kamala, hey. Already? Really? Come on,
Do I have to figure out my whole future before lunch, or is it like... Maybe they're right. I spend too much time in fantasy land.
There you go. That was the part that got me. The video just said, I spent too much time, pause, and during that, they're doing their old prayer, doing their sajda. So immediately you show, it's Muslims. If it was just Pakistani or Indian or wherever she's from, that'd be fine. Okay, this is just
Pakistani.
it's Pakistani.
He's Pakistani.
Then that'd be fine. It's okay. That's just a Pakistani doing this.
Mm-hmm.
But they brought in Islam into it. So now obviously as a Muslim, I'm like, why? How can you have my thing is also, how can you have a Muslim in a world where there's like so many gods, including Thor and Loki and this and that? How can you like Tawheed when you could literally, but
right. Look, Marvel, I've come to learn and see Marvel as extremely balanced in the way they present ideas. What I mean by balanced is that they present both sides. And what they love doing, and they do so effectively, is they make the audience connect with the characters. Notice, if I'm not mistaken, every single Marvel hero has some sort of dark moment in their life. Every single one.
Mm-hmm.
And every single one is struggling with some sort of mistake that they've done. So they're presenting these heroes as normal human beings because who from humanity is a clean slate?
that's true.
Right? So they connect with the heroes. They connect with the audience, I'm sorry. Look at Thanos, for example. Thanos, Loki. Although Marvel has a problem with, great villains, but Thanos and Loki are phenomenal villains. I remember when I saw Infinity War, when I saw Thanos and his character, I'm like, what's going on? Like, I actually kind of see where he's going, and I kind of get why he wants to do what he wants to do. We're simply not accustomed to having a villain where you can say, oh yeah, I see why he feels that way. I see why he's thinking that way. I see, like, he has a noble goal, but it's like, does the means or does the ends justify the means? It's not like most villains you find in movies who are just absolutely just pure evil, and you can't connect. It's just like, oh my god, we gotta get rid of this guy. Thanos, Loki, it's like, I kind of see that.
Mm-hmm.
And notice Loki, he's always going back and forth between a bad guy to a good guy, to a bad guy to a good guy, and this is the struggle of a lot of people. And even in the What If series, it's been out for almost a year now, they show Thanos as a good guy in an alternate dimension, an alternate universe.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's like they present these people as nothing more than individuals struggling with life, with ideas, and making decisions. Mm-hmm. And so notice how they open the trailer here. It's of a girl who's thinking, and then it goes to the Marvel, right? And she's in the beginning also. She's in her own world. What does this mean? It's signifying. Well, a lot of teenagers struggle with this. Who am I? Who should I be? And the American world, the American society, even Western society as a whole, the boundaries are constantly being reshaped,
mm-hmm.
removed, replaced. And although there is a type of good to that, in that people are constantly thinking, and people aren't getting sucked into this mentality where this is it and this is how it has to be and we cannot change anything. So Ibrahim alayhi salam, when he dealt with his family, they had this mentality of this is what it is, this is how it's going to always be. And this is how our Father's word is how we're going to be, mm-hmm. period. And that the Quran portrays as bad. Right? It's bad if what they have locked themselves into is bad in of itself, right? Now the Western world comes and they've been dealing with the church and this closed-mindedness, and I know that word is kind of fully loaded, but I'm not trying to use it that way. The closed nature of the church, to the extent that the only people who can talk about Christianity or can engage the Bible are a select few. The Western world rebels against that, and they kind of go the opposite route, where we question everything. Skepticism. This is how the Western world is. This is how education is structured in the West. We have to be skeptical of everything. And although the earlier part of the democratic era was pretty stable, so to speak, once you get into our generations, it's kind of picked up this whole skepticism, and the boundaries are being removed and changed and reshaped to where even gender is being questioned, the roles of everyone is being questioned, everything is being questioned, and that's very harmful. And this is the reality this age group finds themselves in, and they're struggling with. Now you have a hero who the audience looks up to, great entertainment. She has a story that's similar to the story of a large percentage of her generation, Gen Z, right? Because I'm assuming she's Gen Z. Does that make sense? This is how Marvel does it. Why? The point is to connect with these characters. That's why their movies are phenomenal. They're great. They're beating everything. And so this is how it starts. Notice that. And therefore, it's very predictable that her character is going to struggle with her identity. Not simply because that's the situation of Gen Z, but to an even greater extent, the challenge of Muslims from Gen Z. Because not only are they struggling with the common struggles of being an American and being in American society, now you have this added layer of Islam and what it means to be a Muslim. And so, they're presenting her as praying, doing sujood and whatnot, and I feel like I'm spending so much time, and it kind of puts a blank for us to fill. But notice how we fill it. Notice the average person is going to fill it as what? What comes to your mind? We're spending too much time doing what?
On the phone?
No, I mean in terms of what's being presented here. The way it's being presented, I'm spending too much time with my religion. Yeah. Right? But Marvel didn't say that, so to speak. Yeah. Meaning, if you're going to have an academic discussion, or you're going to, let's say, file a lawsuit against them, they'll say, we just said, she just said, I'm spending too much time. And the image came, you kind of filled that blank in. This is what Marvel loves to do. Marvel doesn't want to dictate your identity. Marvel wants to challenge you and encourage you to think about it. This is Marvel's strategy. And this is why Marvel is, in a way, a greater challenge to theology than Disney, but better than Disney. Because Disney is just far left and just utter nonsense. From, what's that movie? Disney's Frozen, and everything like that. Like, it's all about you have to disconnect yourself from your parents, and you have to be your own self, and you have to go and discover. This is the theme of literally every single Marvel movie, every single Disney movie. Yeah. Marvel is more sophisticated. Right? It wants to say, look, you have two camps here. Where are you? Where do you find yourself? Marvel wants you to think about where you are. It doesn't want to dictate who you are. Right? So it's safer in that sense, but more of a challenge in that these writers are brilliant. They're brilliant. And if you really want to understand their brilliance, read about modernity and the trajectory of modernity and the origins of modernity. You will find that the theological debates that were occurring during the Democratic Revolution are being presented in Marvel movies and series in a way you don't even know that they're presenting this to you. And they do it in a way where you kind of see the good of both sides. And you see kind of, okay, well, I agree with this person, I agree with that person. Loki, for example, that series, it manifested, it told a story of the discussion around free will, which was exactly what occurred in the time of the Reformation, the Counter-Reformation, and the church, and all of this. This is what was happening. This is what they're presenting. And so Marvel has an ideology, right? But it doesn't want to dictate it to you. It wants you to consider options. You can choose what you want. Right? And this is what I think Marvel's going to take, where Marvel's going to take this Muslim character. Right?
But there wasn't a little bit of that, like, too much time praying. Praying is bad. A little bit of it was there.
No, but I don't think Marvel's agenda is to get you away from Islam. Marvel's agenda wants you to think about what you're doing as a Muslim. Is it really worth your time to pray? If you think it is worth your time to pray, go and pray. This is what Marvel wants to do. And in the comics that we were reviewing, as you'll see, they're doing this. You have both sides speaking logically. What Disney movies and what other movies do that are more atheist based and want to purport the atheist agenda, they will make the theist look like an absolute idiot. A fool cannot respond. Marvel doesn't do that. Marvel, the other side, will respond with logic, with things that make sense, and then it says, okay, you choose what you think makes sense. And this is what I have come to see from Marvel.
Gotcha. This will continue.
That is not you.
It's not really the brown girls from Jersey City who save the world. That's a fantasy too.
Did something happen to you?
No, why? Did you hear something?
Kamala?
What does it feel like?
Cosmic. I always thought I wanted this kind of life, but I never imagined any of this.
Do you even know what you are?
I'm a superhero.
Disney. So it's just. So they're just, but they don't. They're just making you think about it. They don't have like a. What do you think the agenda would be then?
They want you to. That's Marvel's agenda, is to want you to think big, to consider what you're doing and who you are. Marvel doesn't care for you to leave Islam. Marvel wants, if you want to be a Muslim, Marvel wants you to be a logical Muslim who understands what they're doing and why they're doing it.
So Marvel's the good guy.
No, it's not. Marvel isn't a good or bad guy. They're neutral, but they're very philosophical. This is the role they're taking. They want to enhance you, or they think they're enhancing you by making you consider what you're doing. Now, there is a truth to that, and the Quran tells, think. Me, I don't want to teach my child how to pray. Period. And that's it. I want to teach my child why why Allah told us to pray, why it's important for him to pray, and why he should pray. This is how Islam does it. But our parents' generation, the previous generation, because of the political realities of dictatorship and tyranny, a tyrannical leader, what's their rhetoric?
Because I said so.
Do this, don't question me, or you're gonna get it bad. If you question me, right? It's not a personal thing. It's not a conversation between you and I. You are now questioning the entire reality, right? You're questioning the entire government. You're an enemy of the state. And this is the mindset, the rhetoric that our parents and our grandparents and our great-grandparents were raised on. And you see these tendencies in them till this day. I don't mean they're ill-intending or they're mean or they're tyrannical in any way, but that's how they grew up. That's how their teaching was. They taught more about the commands. They taught through commands instead of through conversation. And this is black and white when you look at, the Muslim world versus the Western world. What you and I are accustomed to learning here in education, educational systems. Teachers who are competent teachers, let's put that there, they want to have a conversation with you. They're interested in your thoughts. If you say, no, you're wrong, or I disagree with you, okay, all right, no problem. You're not going to be afraid that they're going to give you an F or fail you for disagreeing with them. In the Arab world, yeah, there's a threat now. If you disagree or you show the professor, no, you're wrong, right? Now they'll be out to get you. Because the whole way of presenting ideas in the Muslim world, unfortunately, is through commands. This is what you have to do. 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 Did you do this? Did you do that? That's it. Right? Whereas in the Western world, at least in the competent education system or competent educators, it's more about, okay, what do you have to say about this? Right? And so Marvel really plays on that. And they do it brilliantly. I don't say that in praise of them per se, but I say that for what it is. And this is serious. This is serious stuff. I'm personally considering doing a in-depth series about what Marvel is really presenting, because I think, or it's possible that this Marvel mentality will heavily influence Gen Z, because that this is culture. Marvel is culture. Nothing is cool if it's outside of Marvel. When was the last time you saw a good movie outside of Marvel? When was the last? I mean, me personally, I don't watch many movies, but if I know a Marvel movie is coming out or series, I want to watch it, and it's because of these things. It's interesting. I can even, as someone who's maybe not the primary audience of Marvel, I can analyze in great depth what's going on, and I can actually learn more about my religion by understanding what they're saying. I don't mean that they're teaching me what Islam says. What I'm saying is that, as one person said it, you don't understand what you believe in until you understand those who disagree with you. So you need to understand the other side, what's being said, in order to better understand your side. And so, yeah.
All right. Now, ending on that, we'll move on to the comics. So we'll see. I guess we'll continue this.
So this is comics
of her.
So Miss Marvel, in her really a family setting.
Well, this is in the masjid setting.
The masjid, maybe in the masjid. I mean, it's straight up masjid, right?
It is.
Are you gonna?
Yeah, it'll be on the. And then so I guess we'll start from here. So it goes. So you start with the sheikh. He says, "Sisters, no talking during the lecture, please." And then she says, "Sorry, Sheikh Abdullah, but it's really hard to concentrate when we can't even see you." The sheikh responds, obviously groaning, "Sister Kamala, how glad am I that you've joined us today. The partition and the side entrance for women are there to preserve your modesty and dignity." And then she responds, "But didn't you tell us there was no partition at the Prophet's mosque in Medina, that men and women went through the same door and sat in the same room?" And then he responds, "Yes, but those were blessed times, free from today's scandal and temptation."
Right.
So you can read well, but when you're like on camera, it's like,
don't worry about it, man. Don't worry about it. So again, this really goes to what I was saying before. They're showing both sides. Now, this moment, maybe every sister who's been in the masjid has thought of this and has asked this question, or has thought or wanted to ask the question. Right? I know personally of conversations that occurred around this topic. Me personally. So when a young Muslim or a Muslim, American-born Muslim, is reading this is no longer just a fantasy story. This is real. I can connect to this. And you see how it challenges our thought and the way how our views. If this is just some fantasy world, like these are two people on some planet on Mars, right, just having a really strange conversation, it's like, okay, whatever, this is nonsense. And again, what I mentioned earlier is that they show both sides in a balanced way. Now, notice what the sheikh is saying here. He says, right, sisters, no talking during the lecture, please. Now, he's polite. He says, please. Right? And you could see why he's asking them not to talk. There's a lecture. Well, yeah, you shouldn't be talking in a lecture, whether you're in the masjid or in college, right? And the way he talks to them, I mean, this is how Muslims talk to each other, sisters. Right? So you see that it's as if a Muslim is writing this. Literally.
I think a Muslim did write it.
Yeah, you see? A Muslim did write this. And this is what Marvel does. They don't want to tell our story. They want us to tell our story. They want us to tell us. Disney wants to tell us what our story is. Right? And other movies, for example, this sheikh would be really unpleasant looking, right? He wouldn't say please. He probably would have a stick in his hand, right? And then, sorry, sheikh, a polite, very simple. Sheikh Abdullah, she responds with politeness. It's hard to concentrate. I notice the word that's bolded here. Why is it bolded? Because these are key words, right? Sisters, concentrate. Right. So these are the key words that are meant to stick in your mind. See, all these are meant to challenge the mind. Concentrate, see, dignity, modesty. These are key words. So it's hard to concentrate when we can't see you. I mean, a lot of sisters complain about this. A lot of Muslim sisters complain about this. Sister Kamala. Is it Kamala or Kamala? I keep, whatever. Right? Even though they did say in the... How glad I am that you've joined us today. See, look. This is how a average sheikh responds here in America. I'm glad you joined us today. If their intent was just pure, just they wanted to destroy the image of Islam and Muslims, this wouldn't be his reaction. The participation and the side entrance, the partition and side entrance for women to practice modesty and dignity, right? Mm-hmm. This is a common answer you'll find. This is the common answer. And then the rebuttal, which is a very logical rebuttal. Well, in the time of the Prophet, والسلام, there was none, right? Yeah. What they're missing is that when the Prophet would pray, when they would have a prayer, the men wouldn't turn around until the women left, right? You have that. Nonetheless, it's not haram and for there to be no partition, and there are a lot of settings that allow it. For example, in Al-Maghrib courses, it's, I wouldn't say mixed, but there aren't these clear barriers or boundaries where it's one is barred from the other, or if there is a barrier, it's kind of between men and women, but not between the audience and the teacher. But if a lady were to come to me and say this, I wouldn't take this offensively. She brings up a point, right? If the Prophet ﷺ used to engage this, do it this way, just kind of keeping it lightly speaking, that's a fair response. But his response is also fair as well. That times are different. Mm-hmm. They are different. And what is unfortunate is that so many people won't learn until the problem happens. So many people don't believe in the advice of the more experienced people, and they want to kind of do it themselves. And that is not only inefficient, it can also be disastrous. Let me give you an example. Let's say you want to enter into real estate. Mm-hmm. Okay? You have someone who has 30 years experience in real estate. And they're telling you, don't enter now. Wait 1 year. Just wait a year. What the average young person is going to do is what?
Whatever, I'll just start now.
I'll just start now. I want to see this myself. Right? This person of 30 years experience knows what he's talking about. He's giving you advice. He knows now is not the best time. You're going to lose your money. And then the person goes, does it, and they lose their money, and oh my God. Now, this isn't theoretical. This happens. And I've come across cases and stories that you would never expect to happen. And they happen. I'll give you one example. 40-year-old woman got pregnant from a 15-year-old boy. In Jordan.
In Jordan?
In Jordan.
Jeez.
You see, if you bring something up, and look, there needs to be boundaries between male and female. These things happen. And what happens when this happens to someone? Their life is ruined. If they're not, ousted or made into a pariah. Why not take the advice of those who know? Mm-hmm. So maybe the answer could be better than simply, those were blessed times and whatnot. But because, although they were blessed times, there were cases of adultery. Mm-hmm. So even then, this stuff could happen. Also, I wouldn't say there's a difference between how we apply Islam back then. I'm talking about more of the concrete parts of Islam, like the hijab and how we engage the opposite gender, versus now. These parameters are there for a reason. The challenge comes in that the Western world simply denies these presumptions. Also could care less and does not see anything wrong with a man and woman having an affair. It's just kind of part of life. It's literally part of every single movie and every single TV show. Mm-hmm. There's a love affair of a person who loves this person, and an ex comes back into their life, and what happens, and all this stuff. This is their reality. It's not our reality. Mm-hmm. We Muslims, we take gender seriously, we take sexuality seriously, and we take children seriously. So in the Western mindset, I have the man and the woman have the right to engage into consensual intimacy. So long as it's consensual, it's fine. In the Muslim perspective, we'll say that there's harms for doing that. It could be health issues, STDs and whatnot, spiritual problems. But the even greater concern that the Western world completely ignores is the potential of having a child. Does that child not have rights? Does that child not have a right to a mother and a father to be in their life present? And so when this occurs outside of marriage, if a child is born, those two people have done an injustice to that child in many ways. So why don't we think about that child? Why is it only about what I want and what you want? So long as we agree upon it, it's okay. It's not the way Islam looks at it. So the presumptions are very different. How do we even get on this topic of so the sacred time of the Prophet ﷺ. So his response is, you could see the rationale behind it, that you know what, times are different, and things are a little bit crazy when it comes to gender and intimacy and sexuality and all this stuff. But perhaps a stronger answer is to say that, look, we simply are not on the same wavelength with the Western world when it comes to gender and it comes to gender relations. And these are the reasons why. And I kind of alluded to some.
Gotcha. That was a beautiful response. Let's do the next one. I think this one's more like funny. Yeah. So obviously it shows her staring at a BLT. And she goes, delicious, delicious.
Bacon, lettuce, tomato, right?
Delicious, delicious infidel meat.
That is funny, to be honest. Now,
I don't think I've ever known a Muslim. I've known non-Muslims that don't eat pork because they find it disgusting. I don't think I've ever seen a Muslim.
Right.
But
there are Muslims who eat pork, but a Muslim who was tempted to eat pork, I mean, you find Muslims who drink alcohol, who fornicate, who have boyfriend, girlfriend, but as soon as pork comes, no way.
I remember. Right? I saw a little tweet my friend sent me. A guy said you have to marry someone with the same halal haram ratio, because I can't be at the club partying and drinking and having fun, and she's right there eating a BLT. Astaghfirullah.
You see, but notice again, going back to my point, you have someone else there telling her something. Both sides of the story are being told in the same moment, both perspectives, and Marvel never, at least as far as I have come to see, they never try to show that this person's right and that person's wrong. They want you to decide, right? Unless they're the villain of the series or the movie or something like that. But when it comes to just average conversations, look, what's her friend's response? Hijabi girl, seriously, Kamala, I don't understand why you do this to yourself, right? So she's giving a response. You know, why are you even putting yourself in this situation? A normal conversation that's probably pretty. What's the word I'm looking for? It's something that we personally have gone through. And why are you doing this to yourself? What? It's not a strange, bizarre response. And this guy is saying, I'm going to start charging you for your smells. So maybe you can appreciate something else here, and that is they're taking these sensitive questions and adding a little bit of flavor and a joke to it to make it like we consider these things in times of laughter, in times of challenges, in times of personal crises, and stuff like that. So Marvel loves to kind of change it up, and the scenario constantly wants you to think about what you're doing.
And then we have her at dinner saying, Abu, can I go to a party tonight? Where? On the waterfront. With boys? Yeah. Very funny. Come on, Abu. I'm 16. I promise I won't do anything stupid. Don't you trust me? And then it just shows her going off. It's just a party, one party. It's not like I'm asking their permission to snort cocaine. And then she goes, I've always done what they asked me to do. Aren't I allowed to do anything my way? I need glasses. Just once. And so long story short, she keeps making excuses to go out the window.
Again, I don't even have to say that these conversations occur between parents and their children. It occurs between me and the youth.
Yeah. Right?
Why not? Why can't I do it? If I'm doing this and that, why can't I just have a little bit of fun? And there's a lot to unpack there, just to how we in America are born and how we're wired to view what fun is, what is fun, and how to have fun, and these parties and whatnot, just wanting to fit into the culture. And the father, look at his response. His response isn't just treacherous. It's kind of a response we expect our parents to say.
Yeah.
Showing you the brilliance of Marvel. Again, I say brilliance here neutrally. Just they're presenting a real story, your story, so that you can connect with these characters, right?
But I'll say one thing though. On the part where she says, at least this one stuck with me, where it says, that's the health one. It says cocaine. I'm not saying snort cocaine. I live in California. Obviously, I have non-Muslim friends. I remember one time we were hanging out, bowling. Nothing wrong. And then we were there, and then I was talking with my friend. He says like, "Oh, one of my friends came like an actual party for the first time. Not like only boys or whatever." And then we were talking. He says like he walked in, and when he was in the kitchen area, in the living room, went to the kitchen. He saw just two girls snorting cocaine in the corner. And then like he's been going to more of these parties, and he says like, I don't know if I want to go to it anymore because it's just so like, almost kind of disgusting because it's like he's like, this is just a regular occurrence now. So it might be okay, yeah, you're not doing it, but it's like, why put yourself in that situation?
Yeah, and that's the parent's perspective, obviously. Now, you see, this is very important here. Now, I don't think Marvel is trying to communicate this, nor the author, because this is a pretty deep point. And that is, look what she says, I've always done what they asked me to do. Now, the average Muslim, the American-born Muslims, their relationship with their parents is a relationship of what?
They say something, I do it.
Exactly. A relationship of, I'm the authority, I'm telling you to do these things, do it. Now, some children are obedient, they follow it, and then they fall into this. Like, I always do what they want. Why won't they even listen to me or let me do what I want? Let me choose something for once. Or the child becomes rebellious. And, when you look at developmental studies, child development studies, you find that we as human beings have a natural inclination and desire to want to assert ourselves. I don't mean that in an aggressive way. I mean, I want to be someone. I want to, when I speak, I want people to hear me. And if I say something, I want my opinion to be considered. And this starts from a young age, and it really hits a type of a peak during the teenage years. I want to speak. I want to say something. What happens a lot of times with parents from the Muslim world is because of this mentality that, as we mentioned before, goes back to really the political climate. This, I'm the authority. You have nothing interesting to say. You're inexperienced. Just listen to me. It suppresses this natural desire of every single human being. And this is a desire that lasts with us almost entire life, right? And I'll give you an example. Any adult who, if they're in a group of people and they say something and what they say is just ignored, or they're cut off, or they're laughed at for saying that, that would hurt their feelings. They would take offense to that. Well, why? Because now you've disrespected my personality. You've disrespected my identity, who I am. Well, children are the same way. And so Muslims really need to get out of this, get away from this style of upbringing, of discipline, these disciplinary styles that are, I'm the authority, I know what's best for you, and you need to listen. Why? Because you end up falling into something like this. Either a child rebels off the bat, or they kind of start questioning their relationship with their parents. The style of child development that we need is conversational. I need to have a conversation with my child, and there's a lot of things that I can't go into details now that the child benefits from this style. One of those is that it appeases this desire to want to be an individual, to want to be someone, and to be heard, right? And so these comics are very, very well written, in that it really shows the sentiment of the average Muslim American. Really, I mean, I don't think anyone can deny this.
Well, that was really good. I feel like it brought me back to earth. Got me away from my original. Like I said, when you assume, you become the first three letters. Right. So I was very because of Netflix, I was like, oh, she's gonna take off her hijab.
Yeah, Netflix, we can assume that they're gonna portray us viciously. Disney, they won't portray us viciously because they're all about the inclusivity and all of this equality and whatnot. But I'm comfortable saying that they wanna erode Islam. I haven't felt that with Marvel yet. I don't think Marvel wants to erode anyone's convictions. They just want to challenge you to think about, deeply think about what you believe and why you do what you do.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And if you think that that's what's right, then more power to you. So I highly doubt they're going to portray her story as a story of getting away from Islam, and as a result of getting away from Islam, she becomes strong. She becomes a superhero.
Mm-hmm.
My prediction, again, Allahu Ta'ala, I guess we'll see when it comes out. My prediction is that they're going to show her once she's able to understand who she is and why she does what she does, she kind of breaks out of her shell and she becomes a superhero. So that's not a story of de-Islamicizing someone, but rather someone who's struggling with their Islamic identity, but finds a way of reconciling between who they are as a Muslim and who they are as an American, which is the kind of the story of Muslim Americans.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And of course, if you want to add the economic business aspect to it, right? They want audiences, because at least in the Middle East, they really, as a result of the Eternals, they really, a lot of the known figures, the religious figures there, have warned Muslims from Marvel movies, really. And living there, I understand why they're doing it. They're not equipped to deal with what's going. They don't even know what's going on. I'll be very honest. They don't know because they don't know Western ideologies.
Mm-hmm.
But for us Muslims, I think we need to engage it. Right? We need to engage these ideas. And for those who are saying, I don't want someone else dictating who I am and what it means, I don't want a non-Muslim telling my story. Well, I understand some bad might come out of this, but some good will come out of it in the fact that they're normalizing the Muslim in America. Right? And that's beneficial to ourselves. Now, again, you'll have the other crowd saying that, no, they're going to show them as immoral and whatnot. Well, let's wait and see what happens. That's very much possible.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not denying that. But there's never this black and white. It's never black and white.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact of the matter, this is culture. We have to deal with this. And to just say, we disagree with this, stop doing this and whatnot, we don't have the choice. We don't have, for example, the other day, I got in touch and I got to meet the founders of Muslim Kids TV. They showed us their platform, very well made, professional. They're doing such a good job that literally they're from Canada. The federal government of Canada granted them $2 million in funding.
Wow. And
this is out of how many companies and programs do you think applied for this grant?
Thousands.
How much was it? 1,200. They said 1,200, I believe. And only 10 got the grant. They were one of the 10. What does that tell you immediately about their work? Important, and it's good. Yet they told us that the response from the Muslim community has been terrible. Who are these people? And someone said that they will never find success because they're converts to Islam.
Really?
Yeah.
Ouch.
Right? So, look, someone else is telling, I don't know who the writer and producers are, maybe they're Muslim, I don't know. Someone else is telling our story. Why? Because you have people who just want to shut everything out. No. It doesn't work that way.
Mm-hmm.
Period. Our reality is our reality. Deal with it. This is happening. Don't just bash it and let it go. A lot of Muslims are going to watch this. And a lot of Muslims are going to be influenced by it. So it's better off watching it and analyzing it, giving your two opinions. Trying to push back against things that we don't agree with, and saying, look, these things are actually pretty correct, right? As I meant, for example, what I said, that the parental strategies here, they're not effective. They're not. And you have these kind of challenges that come about as a result.
Gotcha. Well, beautiful conversation. Thank you a lot, Sheikh. Learned a lot. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.